Hello, everybody. Adam Parks here with another episode of Receivables Roundtable. Today, I'm here with my good friend, Pete Klipa, who is the Chief Operating Officer for Harvest Strategy Group. How you doing today, Pete?
I'm great. Happy holiday season to our listeners.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for coming on today. I know we're getting close to the holidays. Things are so busy, but I appreciate you coming on to have another chat with me talking about kind of the art of vendor management. I think there's a little more art here than people tend to realize. There's a lot of science to it, but we can't overlook kind of the artistic piece as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the type of thing where, I think what we try to do at Harvest is to establish, a consultative partnership. That's what our clients expect from us. And that's what we try to establish as we work with our vendors. How can we partner better together? There's certainly a degree of art with that, with some of the give and take that occurs there based on input from the folks that are out there doing the work for us on the third party side. But then there's also a science element to it too, and some data driven decisioning that we like to work through and establish and agree on. And that's the balancing act that we try to do with our vendor partners.
And I think that's why you're the perfect partner for this discussion. So, just to kind of level set for everybody who hasn't seen the first episode that we did together, could you tell everyone a little bit about yourself and how you got to the seat that you're in today?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm in my second year as a chief operating officer at Harvest. It's been a great move for me. I really was a person that had the opportunity to appreciate Harvest from afar as an industry contact. Had never, worked with them directly, other than as a prospect at some of the places that I had as stops before I got to Harvest. So that really left an impression on me because I think the culture that has pervaded the history at Harvest has been one of consultation, one of feedback and input, and helping both clients and potential clients get to the place where they want to be, as a provider to their customers. So when I got a chance to join Harvest, going back to the fall of 2022, I was just really excited because I kind of looked at them from the outside in. Some of the stops that I made in my lead up to coming to Harvest, I think, have been accretive, to my time at Harvest. They included a stop as SVP of Creditor Relations at the National Foundation for Credit Counseling,
Mhm.
where I had the opportunity to meet with a lot of the largest banks, fintechs, and debt buyers in their interaction with the credit counseling community. Some of those same contacts have ended up being our clients, in the Harvest stop. So that's been really helpful. Before I was at the NFCC, I spent time running loss mitigation at American Credit Acceptance, and that's a South Carolina subprime auto lender. And that was a really good data point in my lead up to Harvest because we do have, a significant auto portfolio that we manage. And then before ACA, I was running legal collections at Discover, and we had a large network of attorneys and collection agencies that we managed there. And that too has been really helpful because Harvest has a significant portfolio with both original creditors and debt buyers in the credit card space.
Well, and that sounds like all of this leads up quite well to what it is that you're doing at Harvest. But can you tell everyone a little bit about Harvest Strategy Group and what it is that you do there?
Yeah, absolutely. Harvest is now moved into its 16th year of growth. We have a great history with the industry, managing legal collection network as well as collection agencies. We've had, a great list of clients that continues to build. And as I mentioned, we have, auto as a significant contributor to our revenue base, but there's also a lot of credit card in our portfolio, as well as fintech lending and support to those types of original creditors. We have some significant debt buyer clients, and that too is growing. So we're really excited about our client base and some of the changes that are occurring. We've experienced a significant degree of growth ramp up in the last 18 months. And that part of it is really exciting as we learn new ways that we can help our client base as they continue to really experience an emerging receivables environment. I think some of what Harvest delivers is more needed now than it ever has been. As we push through, not only pre-COVID highs, but even highs that go back a little bit further than that. So Harvest, we just continue to build on a really illustrative history, and hope for more and more of that in the coming years.
Well, I think with the expectation of the increase in volume coming down the pipeline here over the next 18 months, coupled with the decrease in collectability, is going to require more organizations to become more efficient in the way in which they're managing things. And even those that have not outsourced before are really going to have to start to think about that as part of their overall strategy to manage that just influx of volume and work that comes along with an increase in accounts. Now, through my time kind of getting to know Harvest here, one of the things that kind of stands out is that holistic management approach, right? It's the agency and it's the legal management sides, right? And those are two very important pieces of what I like to call the three-legged stool of recovery, right? You've got debt sales, you've got litigation, you've got debt collection. So from your perspective, how have you started to look at kind of the vendor relationships that you're going to be managing, knowing that this influx of accounts is coming through, even just within your own existing client base, not to mention the new clients that you're onboarding. How are you kind of maintaining a balance of maintaining quality and going through that kind of expected rapid growth?
Right. Communication is just so critical, especially when it comes to new clients.
Mhm.
And to go a little deeper on that one, we do have some clients who are coming into this space without a lot of detailed history. They might be
Mhm.
moving into legal collection for the first time, or they might be putting together a pre-legal program, with the use of collection agencies that have a legal talk off that is a precursor to a legal program. So as they break new ground on this, there's a lot of dialogue and discussion, and the need for detailed communication around the setup and the design with a new client. So
Mhm.
Harvest, really attempts to be very consultative in this stage of it, and some of that consultation involves review of things like documents, things like the detail in the placement file to make sure that the correct information will set all of us up for success as we establish some of those foundational elements in implementation. So that's a really important piece of this, especially for new folks coming into it, because they may need a little bit of guidance, and Harvest will come in and kind of stand alongside their internal counsel and their operations personnel to go through those details in a very extensive checklist kind of way.
Mhm.
Our particular onboarding checklist is quite lengthy, so we feel like as we've gone through this with clients, we establish these checklist items, and many times a lot of these checklist items apply to everybody. We got to go through it and
Sure.
make sure that we have all these bases covered. And sometimes we encounter some new stuff, and then we add that to the checklist. So that's
Mhm.
all in the setup between client and Harvest, which we eventually then get to the place where we're sharing with our vendors, so that they can have a lot of the basic foundational elements set up for their own success in their state. With legal collection, there's going to be some subtleties to that. Occasionally we learn new things in the changing environment and landscape of legal collections at the state or even county level. And to the degree that we pick up on that input, from our vendors, it allows us to be stronger as a provider to our clients, and may cause some morphing to the way that we did that before based on that latest input. So that partnership, that consultative approach is a really important part of what we do. And we try to, get in with vendors who are comfortable, providing that input, that have their radar up in such a way that has us looking at these things and improving where we need to improve based on that latest feedback.
So as we go through like these vendor onboarding processes, I feel like there's a lot of things that have just become table stakes through the years, right? In 2011, 2012, it was like, look, I'm SOC 2 Type 2 compliant. Now that's like a table stake, right? It's an
Hmm.
expectation to be at the table. But beyond the expectations, just to be sitting at the table overall, and let's not kid around, right? Like the barriers to entry in this industry have increased exponentially in the past 15 years. But as you kind of look at that, what are some of the things that organizations, whether it be a law firm or a collection agency, can do to really stand out beyond the standard expectations? What are some of those like key things that you might look for to kind of might set them apart from the competition?
I think in so many ways, it involves a process of continual learning
Mm,
and then sharing. So, you know, I- not that there are trade secrets and things like that that are shared amongst clients that are provided to by vendors in this space, but there is a constant flow of new activity and learning that occurs as we go through the very complex, especially legal process. But we have someone on the
mm,
agency side too, and to the degree that some of those things, can be reviewed, understood, passed on to some degree, so that we're going to be that much better, from a compliance standpoint, or that much better from a performance standpoint going forward. Those are the things that represent the type of innovations and improvements that I think we're looking for from our vendors. It's not a static environment. It's something that has dynamics to it that are always going to be evolving. And I think we're at our best, as third party and fourth party providers to clients when we're sharing that information. And
mm,
I will tell you this, if not a week goes by, certainly not a month goes by where there's something new that's coming from our vendor field that can be beneficial to Harvest and ultimately beneficial to our clients.
mm.
We welcome that type of new detail, and we adjust accordingly. And it's something that ends up becoming more foundational in our setups with all clients, based on those learnings. So those are good things, and I hope that we'll still be able to continue to build on that and improve on that in our environment.
So as you're like one of the things that another thing that I found to be very interesting about kind of the Harvest approach to this like art of vendor management is the way that you're handling onboarding. And I learned a little bit about this during it was a couple of weeks ago. I had done a webinar with Scott on your team,
Mhm.
and through that webinar, I kind of learned that your approach to onboarding a new agency or a new law firm, so a new service provider, is not actually to stick them with an onboarding team. And that's something that you see quite often. And I think the larger organizations become, the more they departmentalize these things, right, in order to
Mhm.
onboard in that fashion. But then comes a double handoff, right? There's one
Mhm.
of kind of introducing that service provider to your organization, so to speak. And then there's another layer of like introducing them to the people that they're actually going to function with for the long
Mhm.
term. And it feels like you guys have shortened that. Is that kind of part of the artistic approach that you've taken to vendor management and kind of shortening some of those timelines? And are there other examples where you're kind of applying a different approach to your relationships?
Yeah, I'll kind of answer this one in two parts because there's been some things that have been occurring at Harvest that have had us move a little bit from generalist to a little bit more specialized. And I think this is
Okay.
a function of growth that occurs with companies our size. We're right around the employee count number, and that number is growing because of our growth. So as we do that, we've taken some dual hatted responsibilities and split those into
Mhm.
single hatted responsibilities that would have people being a little bit less generalist and a little bit more specialist, but we're not completely there, so there's still some shared hat type responsibilities that occur. When it comes to
Sure.
onboarding, this is a little bit of it does take a village, because what we do in onboarding and testing is really meant to be duplicative to some degree of what it's going to be like when you board with us officially. So there's
Hmm.
extensive
Sure.
testing that has to occur, following a programmatic response at the vendor
Hmm.
level in order to get ready for the reality of actual placements. So as we go through that testing process, it's quite extensive, and it does involve, some of those specialists that I talk about. There will be an interface on the operations side that has, delivery of our
Hmm.
coding in the test sense that would be, mimicking of our operations actual day-to-day setup. And that's really important to get that right and get those bugs
Hmm.
worked out initially, so that when we do get to the real deal, there won't be any surprises. And then on the accounting side, same thing, with the remits. They will be partnered up with an accounting specialist who will help work out the details in the testing plan that will ensure to us and to them that they will have the ability to do the remittance process based on, harvest and client standards. So in that sense, we've got multiple people involved in that process. And then, we'll also get them set up, for the production environment, and, some of what they can anticipate with the scorecarding and the review, and especially the exceptions management process that goes
Hmm.
hand in hand with some of this coding that they're setting up. That is a really critical part of what we do on the law firm side, and it's also, integrated into how we manage collection agencies.
So that now you bring me on to yet another topic that
Mhm.
I really like here is the kind of that exception reporting understanding, right? And so I think when you're dealing with systematic flows, you've got so much of it that can go systematic, but there's always exceptions, right? There's always things that don't fit a clean process, and finding those established responsibilities and kind of building those relationships to manage that has to be a critical portion of what you're doing.
Yes, without a doubt. And this is something where, whether it's a law firm that we're managing, or an agency, a collection agency that we're managing, there are a defined set of codes that need to be returned that give us feedback and understanding around both work effort and reporting. And
Mhm.
this touches on performance, it touches on compliance. It's critical to
Transparency. I
the
feel like this
setup
is
that we
like the
have, right?
center.
We just, these things are non-negotiable. With
Sure.
harvest, it's something that we have to have. And it's a big commitment. So
Mhm.
we appreciate what we're asking of our agency and law firm partners. Given the complexity, we try to offer as much flexibility in the setup and ultimate execution of these details with vendors. But I think all of our vendors, need to understand that this is fundamental to how we manage. So to the degree that we can get set up out of the gate and have those things right, uh, that's going to, put us in that much more of a better position to deliver, for our clients. So we do that, and some of the vendors do better at it than others. It's important that we ultimately get everybody to the same place so that we can, manage them, in an equitable way, with how they deliver that feedback. Now, given that, and sort of the foundational element or sense of that, uh, there are times when there are some things that we need to do supplemental to even our own exceptions process. And
Mhm.
most of this comes about because of client specifics. And look, those clients, they ask for certain things, and there are some specifics to the way clients go about that. It's not going to be the same for every client. So to the degree that we could supplement our
Mhm.
exceptions process in how we manage that with some ad hoc reporting, that's going to be a reality as well, depending on the client. So, we ask the client that vendors would be patient in that process as we work through that. Typically, there are some incremental things in the setup that goes on there, and it may grow over time. But that's all part of the continuous improvement process that we have as an interface with clients, and hopefully in the setup of those things, most of the vendors are able to adjust and morph based on either what they're doing with other clients or something similar that they might be doing to manage themselves.
Fair statements. I mean, it sounds like you guys have really worked through a lot of these challenges, and that exception reporting and data interfacing is so important. But one of the other things I wanted to kind of go back to the beginning here a little bit, we were talking about kind of that transparency between the organizations, and where you're sitting as a master servicer, you've got to have transparency. Like you're basically you're a double paned window, right? Like it's
Mhm.
transparency out to the vendor, it's transparency to the client, and you're the not the black box, but the clear box in the center that is making those things to function. So how have you found, kind of trying to find that balance and that transparency? Do you find that more from a technical aspect? Is that more of a scientific or an artistic approach?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think the way I've tried to approach it and tried to get our teams to approach it philosophically is one of making yourself available.
Mm,
The vendors are looking to improve how they deliver for Harvest and its clients, and maybe how they deliver for clients in general.
mhm,
So to the degree that there's input, there's feedback, there's a need for discussion, we have to make a place for those opportunities to have that dialogue.
mhm,
And it's difficult. Sometimes it's emails that are coming in late at night or on the weekend or something, and you're behind. You need to catch up. But you got to take the time to do that when it
mhm,
comes to the vendor interface, because you know they're on the same kind of schedule that we're on. We're busy. Everybody's
mhm,
busy, right? So you just have to take the time to have some of that feedback and discussion. It's not like an employee boss type relationship, although it has maybe some elements to that. But there's the sort of the long term importance or goal of trying to have that opportunity to have a dialogue. So, to the degree that you can do that over email or maybe do it on a phone call here and there, you have to have that discussion. You need to work out some details around that. We even try to do it, when we're together with vendors at conferences.
mhm,
And probably the big conference that's coming up here next is going to be RMA.
mhm,
So we're getting set up in February for both individual and group discussions at RMA. Harvest will be hosting an agency meeting, as well as a law firm meeting, within the ropes at the RMA conference. So we're looking forward to the opportunity to broadcast some consistent messages at those
mhm,
meetings, and we know that we'll also have many individual meetings at that same conference that will be playing out. So it's an opportunity in two ways for vendors to kind of hear some things consistently, but then also to take some of those messages that they hear and have individual conversations, with vendor management staff at Harvest to go through and say, let me just clarify, is this what I think I heard in the group meeting? What's it mean for me?
mhm.
Have you thought about this? Those are the types of follow-up dialogue that we're looking forward to during that week in Las Vegas at RMA.
Well, you'll find me there. So I
Excellent.
very much look forward to seeing you out at the RMAI conference. Pete, this has been an incredible discussion. I really appreciate you coming on and continuing to share your insights. I know some of the stuff that you guys are working on is rather complex, and you do it in such a transparent way that I really appreciate you coming on to share your experiences with everybody.
No problem. We appreciate the forum and for what you guys do, for the industry. I'm a fan, and tune in frequently to the guests that you have. So very honored to be a guest with you today.
Well, I very much appreciate you. For those of you that are watching, if you have additional questions you'd like to ask Pete or myself, you can leave those in the comments on LinkedIn or YouTube. If you have additional topics you'd like to see us discuss, you can leave those in the comments below. And I'll get Pete back here at least one more time to help me continue to create great content for a great industry. But until next time, Pete, again, thank you so much. Looking
Mhm.
forward to seeing you at the RMAI show coming up here in February.
Likewise.
And for those of you watching, we'll see you again soon. Thanks, everybody.